Okay, so Daredevil Born Again just released its final episode. I finally got the chance to watch it, and I got lots to say. I'm going to keep the first half of this video spoiler free. I'll put a marker up when the spoilers are going to begin. Let's get into it. Daredevil Born Again has always been a show I've been a little bit hesitant to get excited for. The main reason for that has just been Disney's track record with the Marvel shows. I think for a lot of this season, as I was watching the episodes, I did still find myself getting very worried and doubting things and not really being able to fully let myself get excited just because of how many of these shows have managed to lure me along just to ruin it in the back half. I think I had a lot of skepticism as I was watching the episodes week to week. I think part of that may have sullied some of my enjoyment of the show, if I'm being completely honest. I definitely think the next time I rewatch this season, I'm going to like it a little bit more. I think a lot of this season I spent being worried about the direction that the show was going in. I don't want to say that I didn't have faith, but I don't think I had faith. It's not necessarily a perfect season. My main issue with the season, I mentioned it in my other reviews, this season definitely has pacing issues. I don't know if things necessarily needed to happen faster or certain things just needed to not happen at all, but I am a little bit disappointed that this season doesn't necessarily resolve some of the storylines that it started. Even though it doesn't resolve all of its storylines, I still did find it very entertaining. The last episode specifically, I found that very, very good. It's almost like this show spent season one trying to learn how to run again. And I think this last episode is them finally being able to break out into a full sprint. The action in the episode was top notch. I thought the things that they were doing with characters and the storyline really worked. The only thing I was really concerned about while watching the episode was how are they going to resolve this before the episode is over? Unfortunately, the answer is that they're going to have to resolve it in season two. Thankfully, they're already filming that. I have to say, season one definitely leaves me very excited for season two. Wrapping up the non spoiler section as best I can, if you're someone who liked the Daredevil series on Netflix and was a little bit hesitant to actually spend time watching this series, I have to say, I think I'd recommend spending the time to watch the series. I got a lot of enjoyment out of it. I think if I had put more trust in the show from the get go, I probably would have enjoyed it even more. They did an amazing job at making me very excited to see more of these characters and more of this story, as opposed to feeling fatigued like some of the other Disney Plus shows have had me feeling by the time they're over. Now that the non spoiler section is done, we are going to be officially moving into the spoiler section where I'll be discussing specific moments in the season that stuck out to me and things I'm hoping to see more of in season two. The very first thing that I want to talk about when it comes to spoilers for this season is Foggy's death. I have so many mixed feelings about them killing Foggy in the first episode of this show. I was really excited to see Foggy, Karen, and the whole crew back again. That's actually mainly why I think I enjoyed this last episode of the season so much, just because it had Punisher, it had Karen and Matt all together again, really only missing Foggy. I saw some grumblings on the interwebs of people talking about a Daredevil comic where I guess Foggy had died and then ended up being in witness protection program. So that almost kind of even made me think maybe they were going to do that, still kind of having a little bit of copium. I'll be honest, I still kind of hope that they end up going down that route. Most people say that Matt heard his heartbeat stop, but apparently in this comic that happened as well. For a lot of this season, I was really thinking to myself, why did they say that this series was more violent than the Netflix series? They had a few moments throughout the season that were violent, but I really wasn't getting what they meant until that last episode. For whatever reason, it seems like they've really went full on with the violence in that last episode. Like when Wilson Fisk crushed that guy's head like a melon, and then we had to sit there and watch as his jaw just kind of slacked. That was very gruesome. I was not expecting that from the show. I wasn't even expecting them to show the crunch that happened, let alone hold on this slack-jawed corpse, which was apparently a practical effect, which honestly I'm not surprised because that looked very good for how awfully gruesome it was. You know, if that last episode had not been as good as it was, I don't know if I could really sit here and be so positive about the entire season. But this whole season really does feel like a just stick around and wait kind of season. In a lot of ways, it feels like this entire season is Daredevil figuring out how it works within the MCU, with Daredevil using a little bit more of his fantastical comic abilities. I do have some mixed feelings about them using those more fantastical comic abilities. There's definitely a few times in fights or different moments where Daredevil is looking a little bit rubbery, a little bit CGI. The digi double doesn't quite pass the eye test. It didn't necessarily fully take me out of the scenes, but I did kind of notice it whenever it was happening. It would be very nice if they could manage to either clean up how they're doing that for season 2 or really try to avoid the amount of digi double work they do. Overall, though, I think this season is a very, very strong season. There's really only a few moments, maybe one episode that I have issues with. I think episode 4 probably could have been done a little bit better. I think it's a good episode, but I feel like it's definitely clear that it was unchanged from the original version. I actually wasn't even aware when I first watched it that episode 4 had been unchanged from its original version. I just kind of had that feeling, and then I saw an article stating from the director that it actually was unchanged from the original version. That's not something that surprised me, but obviously it's something that shouldn't be a problem come season 2 because we're going to have to assume that they're not going to be having to rewrite the entire season. Overall, though, I really like the way the series ended up going by the end. I think that if they can manage to keep up the same energy and the same level of action throughout season 2, it's going to be an incredible season. Thinking back to the other videos I've done on Daredevil Board Again, I really didn't think I was actually going to end up giving this show a positive review, but honestly, by the end, it deserved it. It might not necessarily hit the same level of quality that Netflix managed to achieve, but it gets damn close. I think a lot of issues that I ended up having with this show could have even just been from the fact that this show released weekly and I was always able to just binge the Daredevil show on Netflix. So maybe the solution might just be to wait until the show comes out and binge it all in one go. But who am I kidding? If they can manage to keep up this quality for season 2, I'm not going to be able to wait. This doesn't really necessarily relate to the show, but can Disney Plus please release the episode at like 6 or like 5 p.m.? Does it have to be 9 p.m. Eastern? Why is that? Anyways, that's all for me. If you liked the video, please give it a like. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. And if there's anything that you liked about the show or even disliked about the show that I didn't mention, please feel free to leave it down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Anyways, that's all for me. See ya.